Now, on top of the new natural gas agreements just announced between Israel and Egypt, Mediterranean nations are also looking into ways of keeping the coastlines clean following one of the worst ecological disasters to hit the region in decades. Concerned over public health, Israelis ordered to keep away from nearly all Israeli Mediterranean coastlines until further notice. But thousands arriving anyways to help in the cleanup of one of the worst oil spills in the area's modern history. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praising the efforts in a recent visit to Ashdod.
מה שמאוד התרשמתי זה ההתנדבות של אזרחים שבאו לנקות את החופים.
זה החיילים שלנו.
ממש דוגמה, מופת. אנחנו חייבים לשמור על החופים שלנו ועל המדינה שלנו ועל הגנת הסביבה, וגילה תביא מחר לממשלה, תביא תוכנית עם תקציב כדי קודם כל לנקות את החופים.
Alongside turtles, fish, and other wildlife, the spills making headlines last week with the death of a 17-meter or 55-foot-long fin whale, and international authorities banding together in tracking down the likely culprit to one of just 9 ships traveling through a dangerous winter storm February 11. Israeli Environmental Protection Minister Ghila Gamliel, meanwhile, saying that the chances of finding the ship responsible is high, as is the chance to successfully sue the ship's insurance company for funding to help in the cleanup. Officials expecting the damages to cost upwards of tens of millions of shekels. Looking towards the future, though, both Gamliel and Prime Minister Netanyahu calling for safer fueling in the sea going forwards, including in new discussions with their Egyptian counterparts.
דיברתי עכשיו עם שר האנרגיה המצרי שבא אלינו והצענו שכל האוניות האלה שאתם רואים שם יופעלו על גז טבעי במקום הדלק שמזהם כפי שקורה כאן. ואני חושב שאם יהיה איגוד של כמה מדינות, אנחנו יכולים להביא את זה תוך כמה שנים, שינוי עצום. ומגן על הים נקי, שיהיה ים נקי, מדינה נקייה, חופים נקיים.
Joining me now with more on the Mediterranean oil spill is applied and environmental microbiologist from Ben-Gurion University, Dr. Ido Bar Ze'ev. Dr. Bar Ze'ev, thank you so much for being with us. Now, what is the extent of the damages to aquatic life in the Mediterranean?
Well, it ranges in spectrum. It starts with these big pictures of large oceanic whales, and it goes down to the microbes, to the little bacteria that are driving this ecosystem. So I would say it's really wide. You can definitely see it, and that I assume the immediate effect that is visualized as everybody can see it on TV. But actually what you would have is also transparent effects, chronic effects that might be submerged with this tar that is embedded in the sediment.
And when you say, chronic effects that will be embedded into the sediments, how long term are we talking? Can you put this in real terms, in layman's terms, what that effect might look like?
So the immediate effect is what we see now, and these might terminate in hopefully a few days. However, there are some effects that can last for weeks to months when things that are discharged from the tar is flowing backwards into the ocean from the sediment. Again, this can impact to some extent the aquatic ecology. The real extent is not really clear, and this is something that must be investigated now and relate to the funds that should be pushed into this thing.
Now, in addition to the microbiological tragedy that has occurred, so far we've been told that the effects on desalination plants on Israel's coastlines has been minimal, or even they're saying that there hasn't been an effect on the desalination plants. Do you suspect that luck, you could call it, will continue, or will there be an effect that we should be careful for?
So let's distinguish between two things. One is water security or water safety, because what we Israeli drink is mostly desalinated water. This is super important. I can assure you in 100% that the water security will remain, meaning the water is after desalination is safe because the membrane will reject all of these contaminants. The issue sometimes is on the operational aspect of this process, that may suffer an impact, although we public will not be affected of it. At this point, the magnitude of the oil spill that Israel suffered, which again to the aquatic life is horrible, to the desalination facilities, to the best of my knowledge, they are passing through it in fairly good success due to the engineering capabilities of our desal facilities. However, and this calls for a lot of funds and research, what will happen in the next oil spill that might be more catastrophic. Again, we are depending on seawater desalination for our water sector.
All right, Dr. Ido Bar Ze'ev, thank you so much for being with us today.
For sure. Enjoy.